Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we are leading the show with two of my very important guests in the past from the United States who have shown considerable interest in certain human rights issues in our country, especially the Sunday Jackson death row case. But they will be commenting today also on what is happening in Plateau and Benue and give us some insight in some very specific things that is also happening in Kano State. So I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources, on my immediate right, Mr. Emmanuel Ogebe, a US-based human rights lawyer, who is also a long-time Nigerian activist.
It's a pleasure to meet you
again. Thank you. And with him, we have Pastor William Devlin, a U.S. pastor and human rights, international human rights advocate who has visited 19 countries, Nigeria being the 20th, pushing human rights advocacy.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Great to see you. God bless you.
All right. So let's just start with you, Emmanuel. I know you are from Benue State, and in the last several weeks, the whole nation, and rightly so, has been gripped by the massacres and the killings, recurring, by the way, that has been happening in Plateau and Benue State. So I'd just like to open that conversation. What's your own take about this issue?
Well, I want to extend my condolences to the families of all those who lost loved ones during these heinous genocidal attacks of the past few weeks. In a space of about 2 weeks, in Benue and Plateau alone, 250 people were killed. And this was more than the fatalities in Gaza and more than the fatalities in Ukraine, the two most prominent ongoing civil conflicts in the world. Yeah. So we had a situation where there were more deaths in peacetime Nigeria than there were in wartime Gaza and Ukraine. And that should be a concern to us all. Now, in Benue State, one of the things we found on our recent, our current mission was that the killings were happening in broad daylight. The young men had gone to the farm, so the elderly and the kids were the ones who were at home. And they came there and started hacking people from hut to hut, Now, what was the saving grace in one of those communities was that an ambulance with siren was coming, bringing back a corpse. And the attackers heard it and thought it was military response and left.
This was specifically in
Benue. So my point is, if an ambulance could chase away terrorists, what would have happened if the actual military had responded? So we have...
Was this specifically the Zike attack?
No, this is Benue. Zike occurred in Plateau.
That's
yes.
Yeah.
Zike occurred in Plateau. And Dr. Devlin can talk about the Zike.
Yeah,
but state response actually will have an impact. It is when these people believe that they will operate unchallenged that they are able to do the worst. Very
important point, Emmanuel. Let's take it to Pastor Devlin. I know that you were specifically, among other places, in Plateau, and even interacted with some of the survivors of the victims. You have showed me quite a bit of your interaction. Can you tell us the impressions that you got in your interaction with some of the victims and your own take generally as an international human rights advocate?
Yes, I have become a great lover of Nigeria and for the Nigerian Christians, and that's why we've been back 3 times in the last 5 weeks dealing with these issues. And when we heard about what happened in Plateau and in Benue, we said, we're going to come. So that's why we hopped on a plane from Washington, D.C., and we came. And the day we landed, we went to Zika Village there in Bossa County in Plateau State, and we heard of the devastation. And then we went to the local hospital, just a very simple and plain hospital, and we met a woman by the name of Alice, her picture right here. And as we sat with Alice...
It's one of the victims of the Zike attack.
Yeah, one of the victims of Zike attack. 54 people killed on Palm Sunday, 2025, in the middle of the night. The Fulani came in with impunity, unbelievable. And this young woman, she, 10-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-year-old, as she's holding the 10-month-old, the Fulani come in and sliced off the ears of this child, slit the throat, killed this 10-month-old child, Mary, as this mother is holding the child in her arms, and then go to the 3-year-old, do the same thing, slit the throat.
And this was what she told you this?
Yes.
Let's
She
put
told
her
us
face on the
this.
camera.
And as a result of that, but
And what's her name again?
Alice,
Okay.
her husband,
This is Alice, and she, Pastor Devlin met Alice, and I want the camera to capture this.
yeah, so after the Fulani jihadists killed her husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, her 10-month-old, and her 3-year-old, they then slashed her 7-year-old in the stomach, and then they came with the machete to split her skull open, and she went like that to protect herself, and they hacked off her right hand. So we met with her, we prayed with her, we attempted to console her. We're following her story, and we're hoping to now get a prosthesis for her right hand. This woman is a farmer. She's lost everything.
How old is she?
She's in her 30s.
Yeah, 34 years old.
She's lost everything.
Yeah, and you can tell just by the look on her face, she's experiencing PTSD.
Yeah,
Complicated PTSD. So we were there to console her, pray with her. We then met with the chief of the region, and the chief was also a victim because as the Fulanis came in the middle of the night, they were shouting in the chief's compound, "Where is he? Where is he?" The only thing that saved Chief Luca was going out the back door, and his life was safe. Other than that, he would have been hacked along with the other 54. So it's a very sad, genocidal situation there in Zika Village, Boston County, Plateau State. We're here to basically repair the wounds, emotional, spiritual, physical, and psychological, in the name of Jesus.
Well, thank you for your humanitarian efforts and human rights. It's quite a bit of a problem. What we have done on Inside Sources in the last 2 weeks is to actually get the names of these victims, and their ages, read out their names, one after the other, what happened in Plateau, and then we follow what happened in Benue, and also try to bring some of the relatives also on the show to come and talk about who these people were, because it's important for us to keep an eye on the fact that these are human beings like us, and we can't allow ourselves to be desensitized to the fact that these are human beings. Now, there's quite a bit of controversy about who is behind it. The governor said that they are foreigners. So we want to be careful about identifying particular groups, just so we don't increase disaffection. Maybe not. We just leave it at that. But let's come to what is happening in Kano. Amanda, this case in Kano of the orphanage. Please tell us about it very quickly.
Yes, so here's the thing. Right now, the United States government is evaluating whether to impose sanctions on Nigeria by designating Nigeria a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations. And while the case of non-state actors like Boko Haram is clear, the debate has always been whether the government persecutes as well. Unfortunately, there's this terrible case in Kano that seems to make very strongly the case for Nigeria to be designated for religious freedom violations. This is the case of the Merci 16. And what happened is, can you believe it, on Christmas Day,
what is Merci? Is that the location of the street?
That's the name of the orphanage.
Of the orphanage,
yeah.
Okay. Merci.
Merci.
It's a French word.
Yes.
Sounds like
So what happened is, on Christmas Day, people showed up at an orphanage, not bringing gifts.
In 2019?
In 2019, but bringing handcuffs. They came and handcuffed the professor who runs this orphanage.
What's his name again?
Professor Tafa. And they packed all the children and went and dumped them in a government-run orphanage. And what happened? They prosecuted the man for, they said he abducted the children. Yeah. Yes, they said he was running a fake...
Professor Tafa is also a resident of Kano State.
Yes, and had been operating the ministry there for decades. Yeah. And so he was set free from all the, baseless charges of abduction and trafficking, but convicted of forging the license. Of course, on appeal to the Court of Appeal kicked out his conviction and said, look, this is a noble man doing a great job. He should never have been prosecuted. So in 2023, he was set free.
By the Court of Appeal?
By the Court of Appeal. Yeah. Now for Kano State to return the children, now that all the cases have gone, since 2023, they have refused to do so.
What did Professor Tafa do to get the children back after he was cleared?
Ultimately, an action was filed in court
right,
for the children to be released. And the case went through numerous adjournments. The judge kept saying they should settle this. How do you settle a human rights matter? So finally what happened was, we came in last month, we sat down, we mediated with the Ministry of Women's Affairs. They agreed that they would, look into the matter. And they drafted a settlement agreement.
This is the Ministry of Women Affairs of Kano State.
Yes. They drafted a settlement agreement, shared it with the Council for the Orphanage, signed it, agreeing to release the children on or before March 19th, took the agreement to the court. The court issued it as an order.
As an order, okay.
And when we arrived March 19th for the handover of the children,
according to what the judge
had ordered, at their request, they said...
Or at least at their consent, their agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said the commissioner was busy and couldn't do it, and it was postponed indefinitely. We said, no, this is a court order. You can't unilaterally vary a court order. Long story short, a few weeks ago, we heard that they have gone and applied to set aside the consent judgment that they themselves entered into. So you see the absurdity of this situation. And I have said very clearly, Boko Haram has held the Chibok girls for 11 years. ISWAP has held Leah Sharibu for about 8 years or so. Now, Kano State government has held these children for 6 years. Yeah. If we say the military cannot rescue the Chibok girls or Leah Sharibu, how can we say we cannot rescue these children from a government? And this is one of the reasons why they are making Nigeria eligible for global sanctions.
Well, so we want to open the access for their own side of the story, the Kano State government, just so you have a right of reply if you choose to do that. Because I will imagine, Emmanuel and Devlin, that there's a bit of religious and cultural connotation,
exactly.
In this case.
In fact, here's the fact of the matter. The children, when they were taking the orphanage, their names were changed to Muslim names.
Yeah.
And some of them were converted. So in the new motion filed by the government now in the case, they now said that the following children have converted to Islam, so they don't want to go back to the orphanage, to their Christian orphanage. But let me be clear, the night before the handover, we had received intel that the children were offered iPhones and iPads as bribes so that they would not go.
Well, so what is the ages of the children? What are their ages?
They range between 7 and 18.
And it's about 18 of them altogether? 16 of them. Now. 16 and they range between 7 and 18.
Yeah. Yes.
So well, legally, the people that are 18 will probably be able to make up their own mind.
Yes.
But you're a lawyer. I don't know how we can ascribe the rights to young people, whether the state has a power role in it.
They're minors.
And then the fact that this was an orphanage, if the orphanage was properly registered and they're taking them in, adopted the children, we don't know. But what we know, at least before you comment, is that there's a court agreement that was entered to by the orphanage after the man got the Court of Appeal that freed him. Between him, that's Professor Tafa, and the Kano State government that said that the children should be given back to the orphanage. There is a court order.
There is.
The legal team of the Commissioner of Women's Affairs.
And that should be in my view, the guiding document.
Yes, absolutely.
You would think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, the continued stay of the children with these people right now is an illegality. At this point, it is now an official state abduction. So it's a very unfortunate situation for us to see because, I can tell you now, if this issue is resolved, there is a likelihood that Nigeria will not face the sanctions, you see. But for so long as you have this kind of egregious disrespect for the rule of law, Kano is not just disrespecting the children's wishes, the orphanage and all, but the Nigerian judicial system.
And we were there with the court order that day on March 19th. We waited almost 4 hours for the Commissioner of Women's Affairs, Kano State, to return. She finally returned 4 hours after we got there, waited patiently. She came, she was very upset, very angry, and as a result of that, she was arguing with the children. And then, as I was filming the interaction with my phone, she turned to me, the commissioner, and pointed at me and said, "You go to hell, you will never get these children." And then they started speaking in Hausa. I turned to...
But you don't want the children.
No, we don't. We're only there as observers to see
Just
the handover.
The issue is for the orphanage that is based in Kano to have the children back, according to law. So when she was pointing to you that you won't have the children back, why did you say that? Well, I'm not taking the children.
No, you see, but the main point here is Kano is a state with over 10 million street children out of school, okay? So they have a crisis on their hands. Instead of applying their resources to take care of that situation, they went and took children from a well-run Christian orphanage, and those children have now lost their ability to speak in English. Some of them can only communicate in Hausa.
Because they've been taken away since 2019.
Exactly.
Up to now,
Exactly.
which is 6 years.
Yes.
You know, and some of them are actually...
So they're turning these children into almajiris in effect.
Well, you know, we will follow this case. You know, again, it's something that is important for us to follow. But we have just 2 minutes more. Is there any development in the Jackson case?
Yes, so I'm excited that we're now in the month of May. This might be the miracle month for Sunday Jackson. The reason I say that is that Governor Fintiri has been known in the past to release prisoners or commute sentences or grant pardons on May 29th to mark his anniversary. That's the precedent that has occurred before. And so we're hopeful that for this May 29th, that he will do the needful for Sunday Jackson. So let's keep our fingers crossed. That, it will.
And we're grateful that we could be on the program today, and we're encouraging people to continue to pray for the release of Sunday Jackson. So they can follow this if they go to #SundayJackson. They'll get everything they need to know so they can pray intelligently. And we're hoping and praying, and that's why we came back again in order to pray and seek the release of Sunday Jackson, this innocent man.
Thank you so much. We join you in that expectation, and I'm sure that you know, there are many Nigerians of goodwill who are also following this Sunday Jackson matter. We must thank God for the decent judgment of Supreme Court Justice Ellen Ogunwumiju, you know, and her very categorical, a very categorical offer to Governor Fintiri to say that this is a proper case for clemency. So, Governor Fintiri, is going to be your anniversary, May 29. Do Nigeria a big good by doing what is right in the case of Jackson. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Gebe and Reverend Devin.
Thank you,
for coming to Inside Sources. And thank you for your work.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Inside Sources will be right back.